Hi all, it's Rio CloudSync. Today I'm going to be taking you through the process of resetting a user account's multi-factor authentication methods, MFA for short. We're going to be accessing the Azure Active Directory console, which is now called the Microsoft Entra Identity Management Console. The naming conventions are transitioning from Azure Active Directory to Microsoft Entra as of now. So if you do hear the two naming conventions used coincide with one another, just think of an identity management solution in essence. So I've got user accounts in my tenant or test tenancy. With that, we are in a hybrid approach. It doesn't matter. Same principle applies in terms of resetting MFA methods. With that, we need to access the Azure Management Portal through the likes of portal.azure.com. And with that, it's going to take you to the dashboard. This is a high-level dashboard for your Microsoft Azure services, your Microsoft Azure workloads, in essence. You can customize this as and how you like it to look, and with that, you will see your recently active or recently used services. We need to access Azure Active Directory. So if we access AAD from here, you'll see a high-level dashboard in terms of your primary domain, name of your tenancy, your unique identifier, which is the tenant ID for the particular directory itself, how many users you've got, and the licensing and workload licensing. You can verify you're signed into the right account by looking at the top right, admin at. And with that, we need to be able to manage our users. So our action pane is what we'll be looking at. So down the left-hand side, you see manage. We can see users groups. We need to access our user accounts. As per the session, we're resetting one of our user accounts MFA methods. That could be the Authenticator app, that could be SMS, that could be phone call, okay, or a third-party auth token. I've got 6 users which reside in my directory or AAD directory. For this one, we're going to reset Intune user. So if I search for Intune user here via its primary SMTP or alias, or I can click on Intune user as a user account if my user account isn't or not very high. I can select Intune user. You'll see a high-level profile for this user in question. When were they created? When did they last sign in? What licenses are associated with this user account? Are they in an active status? Or are they disabled? Maybe they were a leaver at some point. The world's your oyster at that point. We need to understand what authentication methods they got in place already. So if we scroll down underneath Manage to Authentication Methods, we'll be able to see a list of their authentication methods from phone to alternative phone. Maybe you're using the likes of SSPR, which is self-service password reset. Then they very much coincide with one another. So you could be using the Authenticator app for both. You could be using the phone call for both. Okay. So it may be that they do have details populated here, but they are only using SSPR and they're not using the likes of two-factor. So just bear that in mind for future cases. First thing first, to reset the MFA for the user account, we need to revoke the MFA sessions. Revoking the MFA sessions is as simple as pressing the button. It will give you a policy tip once it's done, a little green tick. What is this doing? This is refreshing or releasing their session token. A session token has a life cycle. You can either wait the standardized 24 to 48 hours for the token to basically release itself or uncache. However, if you do this or you don't do this prior to re-requiring the re-register of the MFA authentication methods, it may be that the session token is still cached on the client's machine, therefore they won't be re-prompted to register their details. So it's always best practice to revoke their MFA authentication settings prior to re-requiring. Once we revoked it, we gave it a couple of minutes just to kick in essence. We then can go down the process of pressing require re-register for MFA. So what's the effect on the end user at this point in time? If they're in a working state as it stands, they will be signed out of all their current sessions because that token has now been revoked or lost, and they'll be asked to re-authenticate themselves, so sign in once again. That's fine. If we didn't require the re-register of MFA, they will just sign in again, use their original or legacy authentication methods, and productivity will continue. However, due to the fact that we've pressed re-require, upon next sign-in attempt, they'll be asked to re-register their details to their authentication methods. If I was, per se, the Intune user, I can also check my authentication methods by going to aka.ms/SSPR setup. 2 seconds. aka.ms/SSPR setup. This will take me to my security info straight off the back. I'll be able to see what methods I've got available. As of now, if the admin has just reset it on my behalf, it will be clear. And I can either, prior to signing, add it through the security info tab, or upon signing, I can register for the MFA authentication methods. If I'm doing it on a kind of a proactive approach, I can go to aka.ms/SSPR setup, and I can press add sign-in method, and I can choose a method of authentication. If it's Authenticator app, I can just press add, and it will prompt me to install the application, scan the QR code, and verify using that one-time code. Other than that, in terms of resetting multi-factor authentication, that's about it. And we'll continue the series by some quick tutorials on how to manage this platform moving forward. Please bear in mind the legacy per user MFA is transitioning to the Azure portal commencing January 2024. Thank you very much.